Okay, we are approaching Rosh Hashanah soon, and already in Chodesh Elul we hearing Shofar. So let's just learn a few very interesting things about Shofar, things that many people never heard before. The bracha that we have for Tkiyas Shofar is the following. ברוך אתה השם אלוקינו מלך העולם אשר קידשנו במצוותיו וציוונו לשמוע קול שופר. So the bracha is not, and the mitzvah is not to blow the shofar, but to hear the sound of the shofar. Of course, technically, someone has to blow in order for us to hear. But the mitzvah is not to blow the shofar, but to hear the shofar. So this is the simple understanding. But if you'll go a little bit deeper, what is the meaning of the sound of the shofar? Just the sounds, the vibration that God comes to your ear? The word shmiya, and actually we thought maybe to speak about Shema Yisrael, so it will be relevant to this too. Shema is not the technical hearing. Shema is understanding and accepting. Like, even in everyday conversation, when we talk, someone says something or say, I hear you. I hear you doesn't mean, okay, I want to declare that I'm not deaf. I hear you means I agree with you. I relate to what you say. So this is the Shema Yisrael also. Shema Yisrael meaning identify with those words. Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Same thing by the Tkiyas Shofar. וציוונו לשמוע קול shofar, meaning the shofar actually saying something to us. There is a message, a hidden message. We're going to reveal the hidden today. But there is a message of the shofar, and we actually not just saying lishmoa kol shofar. We actually expressing a wish. We wish to really understand the message of the shofar. Okay? Now, what will be the message of the shofar? Because our time is impossible to go really deeply and with all the details, I will skip few things. There is a pasuk in Tehillim, Ashrei ha'am yod'ei truah, Hashem be'or panecha yahalechun. The pasuk praise the nation. About what? That this nation knows the truah, yod'ei truah. So what we have to know about the truah and why is the praising. So Rashi says there in Tehillim, שיודעים לרצות את בוראם בראש השנה בתרועה, שמסדרים עליה מלכויות, זיכרונות ושופרות. יודעי תרועה meaning they know the ways of Hashem. They know how to make Hashem pleased by saying the malchiyot, zichron, and shofars and musaf over the tkiyah. The entire concept of malchiyot, zichron, and shofros and what each one of them means, it's a whole big thing. Let's say the medrash. Let's see the medrash. אמר רבי יושיע, it's מדרש רבה. אמר רבי יושיע, כתיב אשרי העם יודעי תרועה, relating to this pasuk. אשרי העם יודעי תרועה. וכי אין אומות העולם יודעים להריע? If it's the technical thing, everyone could do it. You do not have to be Jewish for that. And what the praise for the nation that this particular nation knows. כמה קרנות יש להם, כמה בוקינוס יש להם, כמה סלאגרפי יש להם. They have orchestras, they have trumpets, they have a lot of things. I mean, what's the big deal about יודעי תרועה? ואמרת אשרי העם יודעי תרועה, אלא שהם מכירים לפתות את בוראן בתרועה. The truah of the shofar is a way to manage. If you want, we could say manipulate, lefatot et boram, Boyer Olam, the creator, by the truah, והוא עומד מכיסא הדין לכיסא רחמים, ומתמלא עליהם רחמים, והופך להם מידת הדין למידת רחמים. And here's the secret. The Medrash says that there is a power in the truah, if you know how to do it right, to make Hashem judging the world not in the attribute of justice, but in the attribute of mercy. The shofar do this. If you know what the shofar means and you do it, by those things, Malchuyot, Zichronot, Veshofarot that was mentioned before, that will switch Hashem from sitting on the seat of, to running the world in the attribute of justice, which is this is the day, Yom Hadin, and the truah will switch to the kiseh of Rachamim, the seat of Rachamim. Now, in order to understand how this works, we have to go to a very famous pasuk, speaks about the creation of Adam, and there is a lot of depth in it. I will just mention that or remind you because you all know it by heart. Let's see. This pasuk. When Hashem created Adam. ויצר השם אלוקים את האדם עפר מן האדמה, ויפח באפיו נשמת חיים, ויהי האדם לנפש חיה. This pasuk gives us information about what is Adam. Adam is a combination of a body and a soul. The origin of the body is dust from earth. The soul, we have no really understanding just from the words over here. There is such a thing called neshama. But this neshama give chaim. Nishmas chaim. So, by the body, the description, what the body is. The neshama is also mentioned the power of it, or the character of it. The neshama give chaim, give life. It's called nishmas chaim. What's the outcome of those two? Vayi Adam lenefesh chaya. And the Adam become lenefesh chaya. The literal explanation is to a living creature. Okay. Fine. So I have to choose what to talk about. So let's mention another Gemara, and then we will go to try to analyze everything. The Gemara in Masechet Rosh Hashanah says the following: למה תוקעים ומריעים כשהם יושבים ותוקעים ומריעים כשהם עומדים? Hashem says in the Torah to Yom truah יהיה לכם. So apparently, according to the Torah, we have to blow the shofar once. We're doing at least 2 sets. In the original, it was תקיעות דמעומד ותקיעות דמיושב. מעומד מיושב in the yeshivish slang. But it's מעומד ומיושב. When you're standing, when you're sitting. And again, I'm Taimani. So we stick to the original. We have 2 sets of tkiyas. The first set we're sitting before Musaf. The whole congregation is sitting. That's tkiyot de miyoshev. And tkiyot de me'omed are the repetition in Musaf. I know the Ashkenaz do both in Amidah, but again, at the time of the Gemara at least, it was Yoshev and Omed. So the question is, why the repetition? That's the question of the Gemara. Hashem says once, why you do twice? Answer the Gemara, כדי לערבב את השטן. We do not need to do it, to be yoitze, ידי חובת תקיעה, but we gaining something by doing it twice, we mixing up the Satan. So we have to understand who is the Satan, how it mixes it up, but let's see Rashi. Says Rashi, כדי לערבב את השטן, שלא יסתין. Remember, this day is the day of judgment. The beginning, the first day of the year, Hashem deciding what's going to happen in the next year. So it's the day of justice. He is the judge, Hashem. There is a prosecutor. So the Satan, the meaning of the word Satan is kategor. There's someone who just in front of the judge says what's wrong with this person and why we have to make him pay for what he did. So the Satan has a big role in Rosh Hashanah. He's standing in front of Hashem in Beis Din Shel Mala. So what we're doing, we blow the shofar and we mix him up. How? לערבב את השטן שלא יסתים, כשישמע ישראל מחבבין את המצוות, מסתתמים דבריו. Actually, what's he going to say? The nation of Israel stand in front of you in Mamad Har Sinai and committed themselves to Naaseh v'Nishma. But if you look at what they did in the last year, you see that many things was no Naaseh, no Nishma. That's what he's going to say. So we're blowing a shofar twice to show that we are not just doing once, we're doing extra. We so love the mitzvos. And that will knock down his argument that they are not doing. So everyone, I think, heard about this. When I heard it in the first time, I thought to myself, really? That will make him say, okay, I'm sorry, you're right. What do you mean? Think about the following mashal. Someone who is very negligent driver, going on in stop signs and in red lights and running above the speed limit. So this person was caught, and there are cameras that shows that he did all these violations. They bring him to court. And they set time, Tuesday 2 p.m. will be your court case. So imagine this person will take a photographer, put him, sit next to him, go into the court, and ask the photographer, take a picture of every move that they doing. And he will go like a very correct driver to the court, stop in every stop signs, in every red light, being polite to people, walk, whatever. Perfect driver. So if you would come to court and the prosecutor will say, hey, you did this violation, this violation, this violation. So what do you have to say to your defense? I have a photographer. Look at the video. I'm a perfect driver. That will work. Meaning the entire year you did whatever. Now you're coming to show how perfect you are. So how the Satan going to be mixed up by this? Okay. There is a big thing about how the Satan will be mixed up. And in order to learn this, we have to learn Rambam in Hilchas Tshuva, speaking about shofar. We have the custom, the Teimanim have the custom to read this halacha of the Rambam right before Tiyas Shofar. As far as I know, only the Teimanim do that. Not the Sfardim, not the Hasidim, not the Litvish, only us. But listen to what the Rambam says. He says the following. Hilchas Tshuva, Perek Gimel, Halacha Daled. Usually Rambam in the halacha book just bring the halachas laconically, the way it is. Here, he go out of his way and he give us a vision, explaining the idea and give us musar about the shofar. Let's read it first. Says the Rambam, אף על פי שתקיעת שופר בראש השנה גזירת הכתוב, even though Tkias Shofar and Rosh Hashanah is a decree of Hashem, no explanation why to do Tkias Shofar, Remez Yeshbo. So if you know, every pasuk in the Torah has 4 levels: Pshat, Remez, Drash, Vesod. The simple, the hint, the Drash, Droshos, and the Kabbalah, the Sod, right? Rambam, usually in Halacha book, will bring only the Pshat, laconically. Here, he goes out of his way and he goes to the remez, skipping the I mean, going from the pshat to the remez, and he says the following. What's the hint? What is the remez in the shofar? Kelomar, so to say, Uru yeshayni mishnatchem, ונרדמים הקיצו מתרדמתכם, וחפשו במעשיכם, וחזרו בתשובה. We have to be really, if you want to get the benefit of an amazing idea, we have to be really carefully going to each word. Every word is so מדויק here, so correct, so accurate. כלומר, אורו ישנים משנתכם. The shofar, what's kelomar? You know, let's start from the kelomar. What's kelomar? So to say. Lomar is to say, right? The kaf in the beginning is ki'ilu to say. Meaning, the shofar really talk to us and say something. What's the shofar say to us? Uru yashani mishnatchem. The shofar talk to a sleepy people. Meaning the people who come in Rosh Hashanah, to shul, they are sleeping. And the shofar is waking them up. Meaning during Shachris they were sleeping, during Kriyas Torah, and now we are about to blow shofar, it's time to wake up. Okay. Uru yasheni mishnatchem, ונרדמים הקיצו מתרדמתכם, it's a repetition. There is a yoshen, sleepy, but there is someone who sleep really deep. That's a nirdam. נרדמים הקיצו מתרדמתכם, וחפשו במעשיכם, and search your actions. וחזרו בתשובה. Search your action, find out what not good, and fix it. Continue. וזכרו בוראכם. Remember your creator. Continue the Rambam. אלו השוכחים את האמת בהבלי הזמן. The opposite of remembering is forgetting. So we speak not just to a sleepy people, but also to a forgotten people. People who forgot something. What they forgot? They forgot Hashem. They forgot the Creator. אלו השוכחים את האמת בהבלי הזמן. Wow. Why they forget? Because there is something called Havlei Hazman, the nonsense of time. This causes people to forget. What to forget? Forget Rabbi Shalom. Forget their Creator. ושוגים כל שנתם בהבל וריק, and all their year they are dealing with nonsense, הבל וריק, אשר לא יועיל ולא יציל, הביטו לנפשותיכם. Look to your neshama. והיטיבו דרככם ומעליכם, and fix your actions, ויעזוב כל אחד מכם דרכו הרעה ומחשבתו אשר לא טובה. And everyone will leave two things. דרכו הרעה, which is the action, ומחשבתו, which is the מחשבה. Leave it. The negative action and negative thoughts. All this speech is the speech of the shofar. All of this, the shofar is saying. And you have to really understand how the shofar say all of that. So, again, if I have more time, I will go with you to an amazing journey to analyze each one of the concepts. Let's do it in brief. We'll see. I hope we'll... Okay, if we analyze what's going on over here, we have 8 notions. Let's start from 6 of them that are pairs of think and the opposite of it. Okay? Uru yashenim, zichru borachem, shochechim et haemet. So let's put it this way. Those are the pairs. Sleeping, the opposite of sleeping is being awake. Sheina, eirut. The opposite of remembering is to forget. Shichecha. Emet is the thing that you forget. Why? Because of Havlei Hazman. What is the emet? The emet are 2 things that mentioned in the halacha that we saw before. Let me show it to you again. Zichru borachem, meaning this is the thing that you forget, the boire, the creator. But also the neshama. Habitu lenafshotechem. So if you will add it, we'll have to add over here, the neshama and the Kadosh Baruch Hu. And those are the opposite things. And the shofar is to fix it. From sleeping to be awake, from forgetting to remember, from Havel Azman to the emes. Okay. One thing that we have to know, when I say remember meaning that you knew it before. If you didn't know it before, you do not know it. You have to learn it. Remember is things that you knew before and now you have to remind yourself. Okay. From all of those, I want to start with this one. Havlei Hazman. What is Havlei Hazman? Shlomo HaMelech in Sefer Kohelet wrote for us a whole book. An amazing, very interesting, very interesting Sefer. I remember when I was a kid, Sefer Kohelet for me was, wow, I want to really one day try to understand what Kohelet says. Why it's important? Because the entire Sefer Kohelet speaks about life. What is life? How do you relate to life? How do you relate to the time that Hashem gave us here in this world? So many people think about this, all the philosophers. But when we have the words of Shlomo HaMelech that Hashem says that He gave him Chokhmah that He never gave to anyone before and after, Sefer Kohelet is the view of the Chokhmah on life. So Shlomo HaMelech did with us big chesed, that he summarized for us all the things that he thought about life. In Sefer Kohelet, we have 12 prokim, 12 chapters. If you start to read the Sefer, in the first few psukim, you got into a deep depression. Look at the first 3 psukim. Divrei Kohelet ben David, the first 2 psukim. Divrei Kohelet ben David melech b'Yerushalayim, this is an introduction, who's talking. Okay? Now comes the pasuk. Havel havalim amar Kohelet, Havel havalim akol Havel. Havel is maybe, the close translation to it is nonsense. So everything doesn't make sense. And it's mentioned the word 7 times here. Havel, 1. Havalim, plural, 3. Amar Kohelet, again, Havel, Havalim, 6. Hakol Havel. Hakol Havel, everything is nonsense. So, you want to learn about life. What's the meaning of life? You read this pasuk, and you got into 2 things. First of all, you do not agree with Shlomo HaMelech. What do you mean? Second, if he's right, it means that everything is just stupid and nonsense. And the third question, how Shlomo HaMelech could say that? Shlomo HaMelech was smart, right? He knew that Hashem created the world. He knew few psukim in the Tanakh and other places. For example, he knew Sefer Eov. In Sefer Eov it says, Hashem b'chokhma yasad eretz, konen shamayim bitvuna, beda'ato tehomot nivkau. It's a lot of chokhmah in the creation, even the simple physical dimension of the creation. How you could say it's all nonsense? And besides, it's a chutzpah. Say to Hashem, you know what, everything that you do is nonsense. But because Sefer Kohelet is a very deep sefer, and it's with the Chokhmah of Shlomo HaMelech, we have to really understand what he said. So the solution will be, the semi-solution will be in the next pasuk. After he said that, Havel havalim amar Kohelet, Havel havalim, hakol havel. Hakol is everything, right? Hakol. What's the next pasuk? מה יתרון לאדם בכל עמלו שיעמול תחת השמש? And here also the word kol mentioned again. מה יתרון לאדם? What benefit has for a person in all the investment that he's doing under the sun? This is the meaning. Meaning, the third pasuk explained the second. When I spoke about, and I said hakol hevel, what do I mean? Under the sun. Under the sun. Now what is the sun? Aside from being a nice bright star, What is the sun? The sun is our way to calculate time. Right? Sunset, sunrise, day, another day. Sun in the entire Sefer Kohelet, it's mentioned many times. Tachat HaShemesh, Tachat HaShemesh, Tachat HaShemesh. Just switch it to under the time scale. Now, let's connect it to the first pasuk in the Tanakh. Bereshit bara Elokim et hashamayim ve'et haaretz. Hashem created the entire universe combined combination of physical and spiritual. Shamayim is the spiritual, physical is the Aretz. Aretz is not planet Earth. It's the entire physical dimension in the universe. Every material, in order to exist, need two frames. Frame number one is space. En lecha davar she'en lo makom. Frame number two is time. Every physical thing in the time scale is on the present point in the scale. Time and space are the containers of physical. Says Shlomo HaMelech, everything that I spoke about and I said, Hakol Havel, is under the time scale. Only those, that's actually the explanation of the first pasuk, of the pasuk before. Ma yitron la'adam, there is no benefit. And we have to understand what he means, no benefit. No benefit for every investment that you do in the material dimension that under the sun. The Medrash says about this pasuk, מה יתרון לאדם בכל עמלו שיעמול תחת השמש? תחת השמש אין יתרון, אבל מעל השמש יש יתרון. No benefit under the sun, but there are things above the sun. The things above the sun are not here, are there. Therefore, it's called Shamayim. What's Shamayim? In Lashon HaKodesh, Yud Mem, at the end of the word, always switch from singular to plural. Examples, Yad, hand, right? Yad, Yadayim. Ozen, Oznaim, Regel, Reglaim, Katef, Ktefayim, Lechi, Lechayayim, etc. So, Yud Mem, take the singular, turn it to plural. According to this, in the word Shamayim, we have Yud Mem, right? But what's the base? The base are the letter Shin Mem. What's Shin Mem? Shin Mem, Sham, there, Sham. So Hashem revealed to us in the first pasuk. You know the creation that you exposed to, you think you exposed to? It's much more complicated than you think. You see the aretz, you see the physical, but there is there. There is there. And the there is above whatever you could feel in your five senses, in your ability to analyze things. So the creation is bigger than what you think. There are things there. But the things that there are not just there. It's very there. It's there in square. Therefore, it's Shamayim. Just double it many times. So it's above your ability to really understand. Says the Medrash, when Shlomo HaMelech says Hakol Havel, he means under the time, under the sun, in the physical dimension. But above there is a lot of benefit that you could get. So, to make it less depressive, because, there is a hope. You know what, by the way, we're not going to cover everything today, but if we'll have more time, we'll just spread it to different shiurim, if will be an ability to. Okay, Shamayim. Should I speak about the shofar or about this? Okay, let's go to the shofar. About Shamayim, remind me if you want to talk, maybe in another occasion, about the concept of Yiras Shamayim. Why Yiras Shamayim, not Yirat Hashem? There is Ahavas Hashem, right? Why not Yiras Hashem? Why Yiras Shamayim? Okay? So it's connected to this. Fine. Let's go back to the Rambam. Rambam says that there is something called Havlei Hazman. Hazman is this time scale. Why? What is the meaning of Havel? You know that there was a person by this name, the son of Adam Arishon, Havel. How come he called Havel? Havel is nonsense. But Havel, what's the definition of Havel? When people talk, and you know, some people say right things, smart things, but some people just say nonsense. So how do I say it in Hebrew? Ele divrei Havel. Havalim. Havel is something that have no base, will never exist. The first definition of Havel is something that has no future. Meaning, you're going to realize tomorrow that you're wrong, if you're lucky. So the first definition of Havel is something that has no continuation. But there is something deeper about Havel that makes it much more dangerous. Imagine boiling water in a kettle. So let's think about someone who never saw boiling water in a kettle. I bring him to the kitchen. I'll ask him to describe what he's saying. He will say, this is the stove. I see a vessel over here. And he will see the steam when it's really boiling. You see the steam, right? So because he never saw steam before, for him, the reality of the steam will be so real, at least like the stove itself or the vessel above it. Now I want to surprise this guy. I will turn it off, the fire. What's going to happen? The steam will start to shake and vague and disappear. You know how do you call the steam? Havel. אין התורה מתקיימת אלא על הבל פיהם של תינוקות של בית רבן. I remember as a young boy in Yerushalayim. I was born and grew up in Yerushalayim. In this winter, it's very, very cold in Yerushalayim. But sometimes we have a sun. This is the yummiest thing. When you have a sun in a cold day, it's so pleasant to be in the sun. So I remember going to school and talking to my brother, my friends. Early in the morning, you talk. A smoke comes from your mouth because of the temperature difference between the lungs and the air outside. This is called Havel. Havel. So the steam in the kettle is called Havel. The Havel, and that's what's dangerous about it. It seems very, very real before it's fake and goes away. It seems real. And that is the depth of the concept Havlei Hazman. Havlei Hazman, everything, Hakol Havel, that exists in the physical, it's just a matter of time that it will not be there. Everything is temporary. Before it's ending, it seems so real, but it's ending. It's ending, it doesn't matter philosophically if it will go away after 1 second, 1 minute, 1 hour, or 100 years, or 1,000 years. If at the end nothing will left from it, it's called Havel now. Now this Havel stuff are the things that we in during the entire year. Even if we know the truth, and remember we're talking about people who knew. Only someone who knew could forget and remember what he forget. We knew the truth. Havlei Hazman are influencing us to forget the truth on the everyday activity, in the everyday action. So, the Rambam says that the Shofar talked to us, and the Shofar says, Uru yeshenim. What's the difference between someone who's sleeping to someone who's awake? the awareness of things that happened around. If you're awake in the room, you're aware of what's going on. If you're asleep, deep sleep, things could happen, but you're not aware of them. You're not aware of the reality. But you know what? It's not just you're not aware. What happened when you deep sleep? You're dreaming. What happened in the dreaming? You see visions, the imaginary vision of the dream, right? And for you, this is so real. Did you ever wake up happy from a dream that you saw, or chas v'sholom scared? Before you woke up, you were sure that it's so real. Then you woke up, you say, no, it's not. And so it's two things. First of all, you are not aware of the real reality around you. Second, you are in completely theoretical, fake world and reality. Okay? So the Rambam says, the Rambam says that the shofar talked to people who in Rosh Hashanah woke up early, went to shul, davened bechavana, shachris, but when it's come to Musaf, they're still sleeping. Of what? Of the real reality. And we're talking about people who knew. Only someone who knows could remember or forget. People who knows. But something caused them to sleep, to forget. What's they forgetting? The emes. What is emes? Emes is real. Real, reality. It's the same thing. What is the real thing? Hashem Elohim emes. Hashem Elohim emes. We're saying it after Shema, right? Relatively, what is emes? Relatively. Hashem is the absolute emes. Relatively, what's emes when you talk about a person? Remember, what is the person? A body and a soul. The body is temporary. He belongs to under the sun. What's above the sun? The neshama. Are you aware that the letter shin mem are in the word neshama too? Right? So it's also from the things that they're above, way beyond what we could understand. So those two things, Hashem and lahavdil the neshama, are the real thing that we know, because everyone everyone who came to shul to hear shofar heard about Hashem, right? Everyone who, I believe, in Rosh Hashanah, everyone who come to Shachris and Musaf say in the morning, Mode'ani lefone neshama shenosat. So they're aware they know that there is a neshama, but they forget. Forget the neshama, they forget the Hashem. So the shofar talked to those people. And what actually is saying to them? Wake up. How wake up? Just because the alarm? Just because the sound of the shofar? It could be any sound. It could be trumpet. No, it has to be shofar. It could be alarm clock. How does the shofar cause you to get up, to wake up? And here's the secret without, we do not have time to go further than that now, but how the shofar do that? And it has to do in this order. Tkiya, Shvarim, truah, Tkiya, with all the versions. How the shofars do this? Do what? Remind you. Think that you knew in your head, because of Havel Azman you forget, and the shofar is reminding you. We find the shofar in very interesting places in the Tanakh. The first one was Akedas Yitzchak. Over there we're not talking about shofar, but it's mentioned over there that the aisle was Achar ne'echaz basvach bekarnav. The aisle that Avraham Avinu put under instead of Yitzchak. So this is the first thing. The real shofar, blowing shofar, mentioned in Ma'amad Har Sinai. V'kol shofar chazak meod. The question is, who needs shofar in Ma'amad Har Sinai? Who blew the shofar? And the sound of the shofar is not bothering hearing the 10 Commandments. Why we need shofar there? And who blew the shofar? But it was a shofar there. Called shofar chazak meod. Another shofar we find when they conquered the first city in Eretz Yisrael, Yericho. The walls collapsed by the shofar. Oh, before that, we have a shofar of Yovel. That in the 50 years, they blow the shofar, all the avodim, all the slaves go back, Avad Ivri go back to their place, or the lands that was sold will go back to their original. We find another shofar. We sang it every day in davening. The shofar of the end of days. תקע בשופר גדול לחירותנו. It's a pasuk in Yeshayahu. והיה ביום ההוא ייתקע בשופר גדול. ובאו העובדים בארץ אשור והנידחים בארץ מצרים והשתחוו להשם בהר הקודש בירושלים. At the end of days, how the geula gonna be? Someone יתקע בשופר גדול, big shofar, the biggest shofar ever, תקע בשופר גדול. The outcome will be that all the Jews that was getting lost, העובדים בארץ אשור, הנידחים בארץ מצרים, all the Jews that we lost during the generations, will hear this big shofar, they will come to Yerushalayim. And bow down to Hashem, meaning they will return to Nasav and Ishma. So, interesting, the entire story of shofars. What was the first shofar ever? The first shofar ever was this. וייצר השם אלוקים את האדם עפר מן האדמה, ויפח באפיו נשמת חיים. You know what was the first shofar? Adam. Let's just technically follow how we made a shofar. The real shofar. We'll go back to this pasuk later. We have, I believe, 5 minutes. Let's use them. Hashem told us, listen, go find a ram. Ayil, a ram. A ram is not just a name of an animal. It's a concept. Ram is big, huge animal. Eile hon, eile neft, eile המלחמה שניקחו את חומות ירושלים. Our ayil is a power. So take the strongest animal. Go from down up. What's the highest point? The head. From the head comes the horns. Okay? So Shlomo HaMelech in the same Sefer Kohelet says, Motar ha'adam min ha'behema ayin. There is no benefit for a human being over a beast. What do you mean? A beast is dumb creature. We intelligent. What do you mean? How Shlomo HaMelech could say that? So again, he speaks about the common denominator, the physical. In the physical, there is no benefit of a beast, any beast, to a human being. So take this beast, this animal, go to the top. You see the horn? Okay. Cut them off. Disconnect the horns from the head of the ram. It's still not a shofar. You have to do a few things to cultivate it. You have to clean it up. There is something in it. You have to take it out. It's still not a shofar. You have to cut the point, the edge. But you have to cut it precisely. If it will be too far to the point, there will be no hole, or a very small hole. If you cut it too far in, it will be a pipe. It's not a shofar. So you have to be cut exactly in order to make it a vessel for the thing that you want to do. Okay? So first of all, you have to cultivate it. First thing, disconnect it from the animal. Disconnect it from the physicality. You still take some physical thing, but design it in a way that could be a proper vessel. Okay, we have a shofar. What do you have to do after? We want to be mekayim the mitzvah. What's the mitzvah? Lishmoa kol shofar. There is no sound. So you take this, put it close to your mouth, and blow into it. You need both the proper vessel and blowing into it. If you blow to the air, will be no sound. If you will have the perfect vessel, but you're not blow into it, again, no sound. So you have to connect them. And what happened? When you put the air that was in your lungs into it, what's the outcome? The sounds that comes at the end. So the sounds could be only when you take physical that was designed to be the proper vessel, and blew into it what? Ruach. Wind. That right? The first shofar ever was this. Vayitzer Hashem Elokim afar min ha'adama. You know what is this? Cutting off from the ground the horn. Put it, make it, design it, not as a shofar, but as a human being, with the body of a human being. But still you need something. What? You need neshama. So Hashem blow neshama into this vessel, which is Adam. And the outcome is the sound. Sound is a big thing, very deep secret in the Kabbalah about this sound. But the sound is an outcome of combination of spiritual and proper designed physical. This is Adam. So we are Adam. Each one of us is this amazing miracle. But during the Havlei Hazman, during the entire year, Shogim Kol Shnatam, the entire year, you knew it in your head, but you in the physical world. Therefore, you forget the neshama, you forget Hashem, and you do everything in the physical realm only. In Rosh Hashanah, the shofar come, the sound of the shofar. And this is actually what we have to be mechaven when we say the bracha. Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kideshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lishmoa kol shofar. We wish that we will hear, understand, accept, identify with the message of the shofar. What is the message of the shofar? That we have a neshama and we have the creator that put in us the neshama. And if we will remember this, the Satan will be in trouble. And this is the meaning of la'arbev et ha-Satan. The idea of the Satan is to always put you deep down in this Havlei Hazman. And therefore, he makes you sin because you do not know or you do not remember that you're holy, you have a neshama, that there is Rabbi Shel Olam. That caused the chatoim, the arbev ha-Satan, meaning if the message will be reaching out, he has no work. He has to be retired, the Satan. That was called him, this is the meaning of la'arbev ha-Satan. Okay, that's what we could cover at this short period of time. There is so much more, but thank you for listening. I hope it will be beneficial.